Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends podcast. The podcast is designed to help you feel, see, and think differently about the podiatry profession. With me today is another podiatry legend. His name is Joel Lindner, and he's the owner of Studio Podiatry in Camp Hill and Victoria Point in Brisbane, Queensland, for people who are overseas who are wondering where Brisbane is, but I think everyone would know. Now, he is an avid goal setter with a passion for helping others achieve their potential and an obsession for small business, which is music to my ears, Joel. So welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Good, thanks, Tyson. Thanks for having me on, mate. And I hope I can add some value to your listeners today.
I have no doubt at all that by the time people finish listening to this, they will be bouncing off the walls, because we have a bit of a pre-chat beforehand, and I can normally pick up the vibe of a person in that pre-chat, and the vibe has been pretty good.
Good. And likewise on my end, mate.
and plus, I know you've read my book, so I know you have taste in reading material. So in case anyone was wondering what the book is, it's no secret there's money in podiatry. If you don't have a copy, by all means, you can jump onto my website, tysonfranklin.com, and order it from there. If you're in Australia, if you're overseas, just go onto Amazon. So, and one person gave it a 1-star review once.
I did hear that on your podcast previously, but no, look, that must have been an outlier, Tyson, because I read it my first week of uni. So first week I joined podiatry. It was my first read, and it really
what made you pick it up then
for the career.
What made you pick it up as a student?
I always loved the idea of starting my own business and being in small business from the start. So, when I got into podiatry, it was a big driving factor in me choosing podiatry, because I knew I wanted that to be my natural progression in the industry. So when I got in, I was excited. As everyone is, you're excited, something new, ready to rock and roll. So I just started doing some research, and yours popped up on Google, and thought, why not give it a go? Ordered it. It was in the mail, and it came to me the next week with a handwritten letter from yourself inside it, which was a nice little touch and a little
you ordered directly
from
me then.
Yep. So I thought that was a bit of a wow moment, and read it from there, and that's been really the kickstart to my journey in the industry.
It's funny, my first book when I was at uni that I read was Making Money Made Simple by Noel Whittaker.
Yep.
And it was really funny. About 5 years ago, Noel Whittaker was in Cairns doing a big talk. So somebody said, we should go along. I said, yeah, I'd love to. So I contacted the person who was organizing and said, I want to sit next to Noel. And they said, why? I said, well, actually, I mentioned him. He's in my book. I mentioned him in my book that I read that book. So I actually got to sit next to him at lunch, and I gave him a copy of my book with a highlighted section where I mentioned his name in the book. And then him and I got a photo together. And it was great. It was really good. But it's amazing that I knew I wanted to work for myself as well, which is why I actually read that book. And it just sort of, I don't know, always just got the juices flowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think anyone that wants to, go into business for themselves or work for themselves has that as an intrinsic passion, and they're always looking to, develop their skills, whether that be, small business, leadership, management, your podiatry and your clinical skills. They're just intrinsically driven.
Yeah, and they used to say back in the mid to late 80s, if you thought about business and podiatry, you were evil. I was like one of those evil podiatrists. How dare you talk about money and business? We're here to look after patients and care about patients. And I'm thinking, you can do both. You can care about your patients and you can have a good business.
Yeah, and it's I haven't made this up. I don't know where I read it, but it's not about treating people to make money. It's about making money to help more people. And I think that's a really good one to remember, because without valuing your service and I guess making a profit out of a business, you can't help the community.
No, and that's true. Some people think, oh no, I don't care about money. And I always say, well, if you don't care about money, just work and send all the money to me, because I care about it. Because I know all money really is a tool that gives you the ability to do other things and help other people. So
100%.
There's a group here called the Business Liaison Association in Cairns, and they are a non-profit. I'm now on the board with them, but when I had my business, I was one of the sponsors. I used to give them 10 grand a year and it was to help students in industry connect, to help kids with their careers. Now, if I didn't have a good business, I could not have given $10,000 a year to that organization.
Yeah.
So, and people would say, "Oh no, I'm evil for having a business." I'm going, "I know the students don't think I'm evil."
Yeah, that's right, and that's something that we do at Studio Podiatry is you need to give back as well, and we put a certain percentage of our yearly revenue towards charity, just like you mentioned. We collect shoes for the homeless, and we do homeless drives as well with Emmanuel in Brisbane City. And if you don't run a business that is, I guess, a really clean functioning business that is also profitable, you can't do that. And also, you can't support the people that are working with you as well. So it's a really important thing.
Well, we're going to get back to that. Before we dive into that side about looking after your team, which is important about having successful business, because it's quite funny. I know people that don't have the greatest businesses and also their team don't like them, but we'll get on to that. What got you into podiatry in the first place?
Well, mate, I back before I started podiatry, I played a fair bit of tennis, and I played a really good junior level, and then I played professionally in the level of qualifying of some big tournaments, and I got to a 12 in Australia in men. So at that stage, I was always surrounded by physios, healthcare practitioners. I was in the physio room, in the gym, working out the whole time. So that really gave me a good grounding in healthcare, and especially allied health. I was always seeing podiatrists too. I had orthotics since I was probably 10 years old.
I like the way he just underplayed that. I was number 12 in Australia. I played a bit of tennis. By the way, I was number 12 in Australia. Oh yeah, that's not bad.
That's
better than number
13. Not as good as number 11 though, but it was a long time ago. It feels like a different life for me now.
What tournaments did you play in? By the way, what tournaments did you play in?
So look, I played all the junior Grand Slams, when through up to 17 years old, and then into ATP Tour. I played Brisbane International. So I don't know if you remember that, but it's now turned into the ATP Cup. But and then also played wildcard player for Australian Open and the lower grade side of things. So what they're called is futures, challenger level, and just qualifying of some tour events. So I got my first professional point, ATP point at 16 years old. So it was a different journey for me, going through and just exposure to how much healthcare really affects a young professional, and keeping them on court, keeping them performing at their best really, I guess, sat with me. And when I finished my tennis career, I had to think about what I could do, and I knew that small business was always something in the back of my mind. I had to look into healthcare because of my experience previously with tennis, and I looked at physio, looked at podiatry, looked at optometry, looked at a multitude of professions, and I saw that podiatry stood out to me because really for a small business at that point, there wasn't a podiatrist on every corner like there is for optometry, physio. So I saw an opportunity there to move into that industry, and it's been amazing. It's been just a fabulous journey from day one of university all the way through here, and the people I've met. So yeah, mate, it's been a great decision.
So I take it what you did in tennis to get to number 12, which is still like a massive achievement, even though you might say it wasn't as good as number 11, but still it's a bloody massive achievement. You must have learned a lot going through those ranks, or what you learned being a professional sports person that has helped you through uni, and then also has helped push you like in your career.
100%. it developed a lot of skills for me through life. Some of them including resilience. Being a sports person, you have highs and lows the whole way through, and it's learning to bounce back from those lows and really not let the highs give you too much of an ego to ride with. So it's just keeping on that steady trajectory forward, and also discipline. You have to be disciplined to do it. There's a lot of things you miss out on in life being a good young player, as far as the social side, and having the discipline to go about your day-to-day work with those micro goals that lead up to your macro is super important, and it taught me hard work too, and goal setting, and the importance of long-term goal setting, and really working backwards from a 10-year goal and reverse engineering that all the way back to your yearly to monthly to daily routines. So those were the main things that I picked up from my experience in sport.
How do you cope with failure? Because to be number 12, which means you got beaten by 11 other people. I'm not saying you got beaten by 11 other people all the time.
I got beaten by a lot more than that internationally. Don't worry.
No, that's what I mean. So there would have been a lot of times you've trained, you've done everything right, you've done all the preparation, you've gone into court, you go, I feel fantastic. And you might go through the first round and you have a great game. You go, this is my tournament. I think I'm now going to do it. But then bang, you get beaten again. How do you cope with getting beaten, knocked out of a tournament, and then mentally getting back to do it again?
Look, I think a lot of that comes with experience through it, and also reflection. So, in tennis, you might have a draw of 64 people. One person out of that week is going to win the competition, so everyone else loses. So you get used to it pretty quickly, and you learn not to dwell on those losses too long, because it flows on and affects you the next week and the week after that, and that can really quickly snowball and create bad habits. So I guess in answer to your question, you've got to learn to reflect quickly on your losses within that first hour. Focus on what caused that loss. So go through your game plan, your tactics, your strategy, and also your emotional side. And if that caused you to lose, and understand what those factors were, then move forward really quickly and implement that into your training. And I guess that's been something, from my podiatry and my clinical standpoint, from learning from uni out to your first year and your second year, you reflect on what you could do better on a daily process, or even just after your patients, to the business side, reflecting on what you can do better from a day-to-day scenario. And if there's something that went wrong, all you do is reflect on that, and we systemize it and make sure it doesn't happen again, and we learn from it.
Okay, so once how old were you when you finished your tennis career?
Yeah, so I played my last tournament at 21. So
that's still pretty young, isn't it? It's still pretty young, considering when you see some of these guys like Roger Federer. What's he, 40 now?
Yeah, it's 40 and still kicking on, or trying to come back from that surgery. But you got Nadal and Djokovic, who played yesterday in the quarterfinal of the French Open, and I was. Yeah, it's just amazing thinking about how good their career's been, because I was playing junior French Open when Djokovic played his first ever senior, and he's older than me. And Nadal was winning that at that time. So that's just amazing, that the career of those guys.
So you finished at 21, and then you decided to become a podiatrist. Good decision.
Yeah.
You went through uni pretty easily, I'd say. Not that it's not just it's a breeze, but with your determination, you got through. When you first graduated, did you stay working in Brisbane, or did you go somewhere else and come back?
No, I did work in Brisbane, and the reason for that was, I spent from 16 to 21 traveling the world 10 months of the year. So one of my reasons to come back was to have a bit more stability at home.
I was wondering about that.
I worked
because I thought maybe with all that travel, that once you were locked at uni for 4 years, that you would have that travel bug to want to travel again. But it was the opposite. You wanted to stay put.
Yeah, no, I was traveled out, being on a flight, at least, twice a week. So going to a place, so you go to Spain for a week, and then you'd be off to Holland for the next week. I was pretty over it at that point. So, yeah, that was a big decision to stay in Brizzy and just, settle in and enjoy being normal, I guess,
Yeah.
is probably the best way to put it. And I my first job out of uni was up, the northern parts of Brisbane or Greater Brisbane, just on the skirt of the city border there. So there was a little bit of a drive, probably about 50-minute drive for me, not too bad. But
Yeah.
it's just a general practice. It was a good base for me to learn off and really grow my skills and bounce in the right trajectory that I'm going in now.
Okay, so you always knew you wanted to have your own business, obviously, because you read the world's greatest podiatry book.
Spot on.
Yeah. Somebody said to me once, "Geez, you talk your book up." I said, "Yeah, because it's that good."
Oh, you have to. You have to promote yourself. No one else will.
If you don't like your own book, like I said to you before we press record, I said, I wrote it 8 years ago. So there's certain things in there that probably are a little bit outdated, just slightly, but probably 80% of the book, like you mentioned, is evergreen. In another 20 years, it will still actually apply. Somebody might be reading it saying, "Who's Google?" But most of it, and that's why I didn't dwell a lot on things that were happening like now in marketing. It was more, everything was about strategy. So the same strategy will apply in the future, even though the tactics that you use may be a little bit different. You've decided to start working for yourself. You always knew you wanted to do that. Did you say, "I'm going to work for someone for 18 months or 2 years, then I'm going to do it"? Or did you say, "I'm just going to work, and when it feels right, I'll start"?
Yeah, look, it was the second option there. I'm just going to work when it feels right. We'll start our own and go from there. And I was always open to working in a partnership with someone or buying into a business. I really didn't know where I was at that point. So the door was quite open for me to learn, adapt, and really find my feet as to what I wanted. But it was about a year and a half of working at two different businesses. They gave me really good backing, and I realised pretty quickly that I wanted the freedom to make my own calls in the business. I could see where the industry was going, and also I had a big passion of what I wanted to make and create within a business itself. So those things started to become pretty clear to me about a year out, and then I made the move.
Okay, so the name Studio Podiatry, how did you come up with that? What was the thinking behind it?
Yeah, no, good point.
Because I like the name.
It was. Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks. It was actually a lot of conversation with my wife, Natalie, who's a big part of our business, and she's been an amazing factor in the growth and also what we're doing. And she's just got better taste than me. So she
sounds like my wife.
Name, and I thought that's great. It's a really clean branding. It's more of that, I guess, a premium branding too.
Definitely.
And that was a thought process around it too, because where we're located at Camp Hills, higher socio economic area as well. So that all those factors came into play, and we wanted something very simplistic in nature too. So it's worked well.
Yeah, and if people want to go and check it out, just look for studiopodiatry.health. And I love the way your logo is just really clean. I mean, just super clean, and you can change that to any color that you wanted to, and it's still going to look super clean. So I think it's really good.
Thanks, Jocelyn.
So, okay. So once you came up with the name, you decided you're going to open up your own business. You and your wife just working together to start with?
Yeah. Well, at that point, Natalie, she had her own, marketing freelance company. So she was doing that full time, and which has been a big help for us.
That'd be very handy.
Yeah, very handy. And then also, so I started it pretty much myself, starting from nothing really. I leased a room within a physio complex to start. Started off with that minimal viable product,
Yeah.
and started to build it from there. So, we were answering the phones ourselves. Every little thing I did within the practice and within the business that I had to do more than once. So if I had to do it twice, I documented, systemized, and made sure that we could move forward and translate that into a training manual and easily transition into having a team as we grew. So it was a really good footprint for me to do everything to start with, from, like I said, answering your phones, sending your EPC letters off, doing all the reception work, doing the running through your payments through high caps, absolutely everything. So it gave me a really good foothold of the business, and then I could systemize and then train from that point.
And I think it's always good for the business owner to understand every single aspect of their clinic. And I've heard some people say, "Oh no, but that's what I employ people to do all that." But I think if you don't need to do it as well as them, but you need to understand how it works. But one, so you know if they're not doing it right. But the other part, if for some reason, they fall off a cliff, which I hope no one in your team falls off a cliff. But if all of a sudden something happens to a team member and you need to replace them or train somebody else, you've got the manual and you can teach them very quickly and get them up to speed. Whereas I have seen business owners where they go, "Oh, if my practice manager left, I would have no idea how this business runs." And I'm like, that's really scary.
Yeah. I think it's important that for every little role within your company or within your business, you're at least 80% across. That way you can bring on a team member that specializes in that, and then can go to that 100%. So like you're saying, if someone falls off that cliff, touch wood, no one does. You can cover that, and then you can also train and bring someone else on, or have someone else in the team take that role too. So you're spot on. You need to be across all those facets within the company.
Yeah, I used to say I knew how every single thing worked in my business except the autoclave. Had absolutely no idea how it worked because I didn't do any general patients and I didn't care how it worked. As long as somebody else knew how it worked and we got the right printouts and the records, that's all they need to know. And for some reason, if it ever came to me to have to use it, there was something had gone drastically wrong in my life. That was the way that I looked at it. So I said, that's one piece of it. I never want to know how it works.
Yeah, no, well, that's fair enough. And, I guess I had the same experience too. When we first started, we didn't do any general care. We just niched into biomechanical care and kind of branched out and pivoted from that point as we've grown. But at least the autoclave I've got is pretty simplistic, Tyson. I just have to press a button. So it's like my wife taught me on the washing machine. It's just one button.
Just press play. I think our washing machine, it's got 50 million buttons on there. All I know is if I just press play, it seems to work. And if for some reason I've forgotten to put something, I press pause, lift the lid up, press play. Yeah, nice and simple. The dryer I'm still figuring out. It's I don't know. It's just weird. So so I take it you set your own business up, then you moved out from the physio place, found your own location, started building it there. How important was it to set goals for yourself, like short-term or longer-term goals as you went along?
Massively crucial, and it's been crucial the whole way along from my journey through uni and to working for someone else to running our own business. And those goals always change, but they're always, for me, drawn back to our key purpose. And our key purpose is to enhance the lives of our patients. So what we try and think about is what's my 10 or what's our 10-year goal? And we set that 10-year goal around our purpose, which is to see by the time it hits 2032, and I've got a few more grey hairs, to see 60 to enhance the lives of 65,000 patients over that time frame. And then we've worked back from there to a 3-year obsession, which is to see 18,000 patients or enhance the lives of 18,000 patients, and then a 1-year goal of enhancing the lives of 4,500 patients. So it breaks or reverse engineers down from that 10-year, and that's what I've done with everything in my life, and it served me really well. Now those goals, they have to be flexible too. because things change. Like,
definitely.
you don't know where you're going to be in 10 years, but at least you've got a really set in stone, I guess, milestone that you're all working towards. And not only just myself and my wife as business owners, but that's open for the whole team. They can see where the business is traveling, see where the company's going, and be part of that growth.
Yeah, it's part of the journey. People want to belong. When I've done the 12-week reboot, when I was doing it, and in the first session was all about your team. It's a thing called a cultural telescope, and going through from your values all the way through to different rituals and then stories. And people want to be part of a story, and people want to get on board with and want to work with people that are actually going somewhere. And I find it funny when people say, "Oh, I can't find any podiatrists to work for me," and I'm like, seriously. I know so many podiatrists that are looking for, that want to find better jobs. The problem is your job's no better. In fact, your job's probably worse. So why would someone want to go and work in a clinic that's not got any directional leadership and taking it somewhere?
Yeah.
And that's the part that they're missing.
That's it. And what someone's looking for, I think, in this day and age is, as far as a career, it's not just a job. It's looking for, where their progression is going to go in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Also, if their values align with that company, and and if they align with the purpose of the company too. So it's not only moving forward in the career, it's fulfilling their intrinsic purpose. The reason they got into podiatry, to help people as well. So it's super important that I think as small business owners, we continue to provide, I guess, growth within our clinical scope, and also within our practice for our team members to grow with the business.
So with the goals so far, I'd say it'd be exactly the same as like with tennis. When I asked you before, you would have had a couple of failures where didn't win the game and you had to reset. So I take it in your business, you have not hit every goal every single time. Have you had to readjust a couple of times as you've gone along? And how have you coped with that mentally?
100%. So, when we started off, like I said earlier, we were out of a physio practice and just one room. And that was, at that point in time, was going to be the growth of it. We were going to work with a group of physios and have these satellite clinics, and that was my initial goal. And I quickly realised that was limiting the patients that we could help. Someone had come in with a ingrown toenail or a verruca, and I didn't have the equipment to help them. So I had to reflect on those goals, reflect on what we wanted, and pivot that and change it. And you've got to constantly do that to find what really stands with your personal purpose too. So it's been a multitude of things. Luckily, we haven't had any too many disastrous failures in the business, which is good. They're just small things. From day to day, it can even be as small as the patient's communication hasn't gone out on time, or something as minor as that. But it does affect your business, and it does affect that patient's experience too. And it's just learning from that and resetting on a daily basis too. So,
I did notice I did notice with your business, when I had looked at your website, that it looked like it was with Studio Podiatry, very much like biomechanics, sports, orthotic therapy, that type of business. And then I did notice when I clicked on services that you did Swift, and so obviously you set it up as no routine care, but then as time went on, you pivoted and you started introducing that, which is usually the opposite. A lot of businesses would do everything, and then they're trying to actually get rid of the routine care, whereas you actually brought it in. Why did you decide to bring it in and not just leave it alone?
Two reasons. So, first reason was, like I touched on before, someone had come in, a young kid, a young athlete would come in, and I'd be seeing them for, let's just say they had plantar fasciopathy, and
Yeah.
I'd be seeing them, treating them for that through their treatment plan. And, because of the nature of their sport, they get an ingrown toenail. And at that point, I didn't have an autoclave or anything like that to have the equipment and sterilize them. So I couldn't help that person anymore for that, but I had the skills to do it.
Yeah.
So I quickly realized that I can improve that person's experience with the business, but also improve that person's life by adding those services on. And as soon as we did it, it was just it's just a great move. It's been one of the better moves. And then secondly, as well as this comes down to small business thinking, it was scalability too. So not everyone that wants to come out as a podiatrist wants to be biomechanical specialist.
Yeah.
So as far as building a team and training and learning, I could see there was going to be a scalability issue there as well. So it's been a good move. It's probably the best move we've made in the business to go into all forms of services. And it comes back to that purpose of enhancing the patient's life. By having that, we can do it better.
Okay. Now, you've had your practice at Camp Hill for a number of years now, and you've just opened at Victoria Point. What made you decide to have the second clinic?
A few factors. We've been at Camp Hill for coming up on 2 years now, and it's been going fantastic. And we got a fantastic team around it. I've loved it. I've loved every moment of it. I loved building a team. I love coaching. I love mentoring, and I love seeing other people achieve their goals. And as the clinic's grown, my team has grown as well. And it was just, I guess, a really natural progression for us to take the next step. And an opportunity came up at Victoria Point that
did the opportunity come to you, or did you go looking for it?
Well, we're always looking, right, Tyson? We're always looking. We're always looking in the future. You're always looking for opportunities in everything, and I think the people that are looking for it, it comes to them more. Now, we had our eyes open, and one of my patients actually owns the pharmacy down there. So, and he just said, my pharmacy is doing really well. It's building. We love the community that's down there. And I went down, had a little scope, and there was a good premises that was in a fantastic community centre, and made the call then.
Okay, so that's only just opened. Are you looking for new podiatrists at the moment?
Yeah, so we're actually, like we spoke before this started, we're on the last day of our fit out today. So hopefully it opens up on Monday next week, so this being Friday. So we're growing quickly, and we're always on the lookout for like-minded team members and podiatrists that align with what we're trying to achieve. Okay, so when you're looking for it, that's going to keep going. Sorry, Tyson, that's going to keep growing over the next 10 years as well. So, the way the business is powering and kicking goals, that's going to be a constant journey for us. So what do you look for when you're searching for a new team member to come and work with you? Are there certain things you're looking for in them? Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good question. For me, it comes down to how they're going to suit our culture. That's number one, and that value alignment, but also their communication skills, their ability, or I guess their life experience and what they've done previously, and also some of their interest points inside the profession as well. But from my experience, it's more so an alignment of your values is the most important thing, and then from there we can always grow and build our clinical skills on top of that. And what we try to provide with everyone is that mentoring, that one-on-one mentoring, that internal progression and learning within the business. So that comes naturally, I think, over time. It's about the right person and someone who's going to really wow the patients and can communicate it as well.
Yeah, I always equate, starting a new graduate with learning how to play the guitar. That you can get someone and you can say to them, show me a D chord. They show you a D chord. Show me a G. Show me an E. Show me all the different chords. And you can show them how to do it. And they go, yep, they know all the chords. And then when you say, okay, now play me Stairway to Heaven, they're like, what? Because just because they know the basics, and I think a lot of new graduates, when they come out, they know the basics, they know the chords, but they don't quite yet know how to put those chords together to create beautiful music. And it's up to us as the employer to understand. They know the chords. They know what a guitar is. They know all they've got the foundations. It's now up to us to help them actually create music from it.
That's it. It's just putting all those skills together and harnessing and really mastering your trade, and that takes time. Like with when your question to me previously, how do you reflect on your losses at tennis? It takes time to go through experiences there and build on those skills, and also it's really important as a new grad. You need to know your clinical side. That is number one. That's what you come out of uni. That's your number one competency level. But after that, it's about creating rapport and creating relationships with people and helping them achieve their goal. So it's taking that clinician side away and understanding that is your core competency, but it's about dealing with the person and helping them achieve their number one goal. And that differs with every practice, every person you come across. It might be a grandma that just wants to walk on the beach with her kids. That is your target as a practitioner. That's what you need to get to, and you need to communicate a treatment plan to help her get there. And it's a really a good way one of my team members put it the other day is that person that walks through that door with their goals, say it's heel pain, for example, that person doesn't necessarily care what, I guess, clinical implementation you use or methodology you use. They care about their pain and achieving their goal. Yeah. So they don't care if you've used shockwave to do it, you've used orthotics, you've used exercise progression, dry needling. They care that they get the key number one outcome. So it's really about working to those goals and hitting those patients with the kitchen sink, really, to get there.
Yeah, I like the way that you said then communication, because a lot of the times it's the communication that's lacking, not just with new graduates, but people who've been out for a while. And if they can't communicate that treatment plan to the patient, and it doesn't always, it's not about selling an orthotic to a patient. It's about communicating what is the best treatment plan for them to get the outcome that they actually want. And I think this comes back to the business owners. I get the shits when I hear about podiatrists get employed somewhere and then the business owner does not give them the time or day to do any training with them. So you've got someone that graduates and comes out who knows all the chords on the guitar, but doesn't know how to play any music yet. And the owner of business goes, there you go, you've got your guitar, now get out there and just see all these people. Yeah. And then a year later or 2 years later, saying, why aren't you on stage playing like a professional? Because no one's showing them.
Spot on. Yeah, I've seen it a lot, and I've even experienced it where you come out as a new grad and you get thrown a full book of patients, and sometimes you're isolated in a practice where it's just you and an admin, and sometimes not even admin, and you're there pumping through your patients and really not learning from others' experiences. You're trying to learn from your own failures too, which can damage confidence in a new graduate, but also it can cause burnout and lose the enjoyment of treating if that happens too much.
I'd love to say I've been a perfect boss my whole career, but probably for the first 20 years, I probably wasn't. Probably 15, probably the first 15 years, I was very much like that. I just employed someone, they're a new graduate. I just assumed they knew what they were doing, and you just throw them in the deep end. And you probably harmed a lot of them as they went through. So if any of you are listening to this, I apologize. But the second half of my career, I really did start realizing the importance of good mentoring, training, and then trying to take them from where they were as a new graduate and getting them up to speed as fast as possible, making them even more competent than what they were. And you can see the enjoyment on their face. And a lot of those podiatrists that worked with me in the second half of my career went on to have really good practices themselves.
Spot on. And that's, again, I speak to my team internally about this. And if we can give our team members the skills to, through their time with us, the skills to be, the master of their profession it might be pediatrics, it might be in general care, whatever they choose to be, but also give them the skills to, when they're done with us, walk out and start their own practice. I've done my job. If they can start their own practice or their own business down the track and start it from scratch and kick goals from day one, I've done my job as a business owner and also as a mentor for those team members.
Yeah, I remember Tom O'Toole saying that some business owners will go, "Oh, what if I train them and they leave?" And he said, "Well, what if you don't train them? What happens if you don't train them and they stay?"
Yeah, spot on.
It's even worse. So I would much rather train people and know when they left, they were either going to have a cracking business themselves, or if they're going to go and work for somebody else, that you get a reputation that, wow, you train podiatrists well.
Yeah. And that ends up reflecting on your business too, and what they're doing for you on a day-to-day basis too. And the more that your team members understand what you're trying to achieve and understand what you as a business owner goes through, day to day, year to year, and make it as transparent as possible, they actually really buy into that, and you get better outcomes for your patients.
Yeah, that's true. So if people want to reach out to you and connect with you, what's the best way of doing it?
If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on LinkedIn at Joel Lindner, and you can shoot us an email at hello@studiopodiatry.health. That's the best way to contact myself.
Okay. Are you any relation to Bob Lindner?
Yeah, it's my old man.
Serious?
Yeah.
He was at uni when I was there. He was doing optometry, I think. Was he doing optometry?
Yeah.
Because
Still is. Yep.
Yeah, he was doing optometry. I was doing podiatry. Plus, he was a Queensland legend, which we all knew. But we were putting together the first rugby league team at QUT. We were the QUT Gerbils, and I remember bumping into him when he was there and trying to convince him to come and play for us. And at the time he was playing for Queensland, so he thought it'd probably be a bit of a conflict of interest to play for the Gerbils. But,
he's got some good stories there. Actually, one of the state of origins, I think it was possibly 88, and they just won the series. And instead of going out and celebrating the win with the team, he had to get on a flight that night, fly back and do his optometry final. What was
exam. It was in 88. We were trying to con him into playing for the Gerbils.
Oh, that's funny.
Small world.
I was only because he's got a Gerbils jersey.
No, I don't think he has a Gerbils jersey, but it was we were Gerbils because a gerbil was a tenacious rat-like creature known for its fighting capabilities. That's why we came up with the thing, the Gerbils. But it was
that aligns perfect with the old man.
I just thought, because your surname and because you had played sport at a certain level, I thought it has to be in your genes somewhere to actually do that. So that was a bit of a. Hey, I've got another side question. Got nothing to do with what we're talking about. Then I'm going to get a final tip from you. So what's it like being an awesome tennis player? Is it really hard when you go out on weekends with friends and family? So it's, hey, who wants to have a hit of tennis? Because I know, like, I play table tennis, and there's nothing worse than playing table tennis against someone who is crap, and they're just hitting the ball. So does it get frustrating trying to play social tennis with someone like me?
The straight answer to that, Tyson, is I haven't stepped on a tennis court for I'd say 4 years at least. So it's something that I did so much in my youth, and by the time I was finished, I was burnt out. And the sport's great; it did a lot of good things for me. I've got some mates that played French Open this week, but it's I wouldn't put it up there as something I do casually anymore. I'm pretty burnt out from it, and if I didn't see a tennis court again for the rest of my life, it wouldn't worry me.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, it did. It did have an effect on you, didn't it?
Yeah. Look, it's a great journey, a lot of learnings from it, but it is a tough existence being traveling by yourself as a young fella 10 months of the year, but it was fantastic. A lot of growth from it. But yeah, I wouldn't want to go back there.
Yeah, I think it's any sport though. If you want to make it to the top, it's a grueling struggle. There's nobody plays State of Origin. They don't just hand out Queensland jerseys to play State of Origin. It's one of those things that you've really got to put the work in. You've got to have a certain amount of talent, and then you've got to work your ass off. In I think elite
100%.
sport in any way, very few people just do it naturally. I don't think anyone can just naturally make it. There's a lot of work.
No, not anymore with the amount of professionalism in the games these days.
Yeah, you're back in the 80s. Back in the 80s when your dad was playing, even though he was a very talented player, but there were a lot of guys then that still were working as tradies, would just train a couple of nights a week, playing in the local comp, and bang, they'd be playing for Queensland because they were just just bloody good players.
Oh yeah. Dad's got some good stories about Dale Shearer leading up to Queensland with that stuff. But yeah, no, that's for another day.
Yes, we'll talk about that off air. One final tip from me. Anyone that's listening, have you got a final tip from them, whether it's about goal setting, leadership, just keeping themselves motivated, overcoming setbacks? But what's your final tip to wrap up on?
I think the main thing is, for me, you've got to find your intrinsic purpose with this industry, whether that's your intrinsic purpose is helping people. It might be small business. It might be dealing with pediatrics. Whatever your intrinsic purpose is, understanding that there's going to be some ups and downs throughout the course of it, and having a really level head through those ups and downs, and you will get through everything and work towards it. And you reflect from 3 years ago, and we had this conversation off there, you reflect where you're at 3 years ago. As long as you can stay within the industry, you will be amazed at what you can achieve.
Definitely.
And really, it's really just not letting those highs and lows affect you along the pathway. And if you have that intrinsic purpose, they won't.
And also think it's, if you're looking at other practices that are much bigger than what you are now, or they've got multiple locations, you're thinking, well, I don't know if I'll ever get there. Well, they started the same place where you are now.
Yeah, spot on. And being successful is everyone's, I guess, meter on success is different.
Definitely.
Being an employee or a team member that loves what they're doing every day, that is a success if that is your goal. Being a business owner that has a satellite practice and that's what they've wanted to do, and they're doing it and they're loving what they do, that's successful. And the next person, it might be owning 50 sites and getting to that point, and that might be success for them. So it really is your meter on what is successful in your life and work-life balance, and everyone's different.
So, Joel, I think that is a perfect way to wrap up. I want to thank you for coming on the Podiatry Legends podcast. There is a T-shirt coming your way. And so I'd love to get you back on in a couple of years' time too, just to see what you ended up doing, how many clinics you grew to. And I always like checking on people's progression. So thank you very much. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Tyson. And mate, can't wait to be back on here again at some point. And I hope everyone got a bit of value out of our conversation today.
Or if they didn't, what I normally say, if you didn't learn something from this episode, give yourself an uppercut, take a couple of Panadol and go have a lie down. When you get back up, listen to it again and you'll go, that's what I missed. So no, I think people will be motivated and inspired by this episode. So thank you.
Lovely, mate. My pleasure.
Okay, bye.